Hey there, this is Chad from Zombie Fight Shark. Welcome to episode 3 of our complete Thor walkthrough. In episode 1, we covered the front panel, just this portion here. In episode 2, we covered routing. Now here in episode 3, we are going to begin talking about the oscillators and what they sound like, what they do, and how to play with them. So let's get into it. And you'll see I have a Melda audio oscilloscope up, so you can see exactly what the wave shapes look like and how, when you're playing with the knobs, how it affects the actual waves themselves. So, first and foremost, we're gonna look at the knobs, the nabs. I should say, this episode is about the analog oscillator itself. We're going to do these one at a time because there's too much to do all of them in one episode. So, analog oscillator. Keyboard. So, this keyboard knob is, if you want full keyboard, every key on the keyboard is changing the note, or so as you turn it down, you're getting less space between the notes. So if you wanted to do like some cool microtonal music, then this gives you notes between notes. And your keyboard better get infinite because there's going to be a lot of space between the notes. So right here, that's on my keyboard, that's a G and a C that I'm playing, but you can tell it's just cents apart. So there we go, it's a fourth. So when you get all the way to 0, you only get, no matter what note you hit on your keyboard, it's going to be the same. At which point you're going to use this octave to change the octave and this semi to change it individually. So if you're making a kick drum, then this is, just for example, a kick drum, this is the way to do it. So you use you're going to turn your keyboard off. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the way I normally do it. Turn my keyboard all the way off, and then I'm going to select the appropriate octave, and then from here, we're most of the way there to a to an 808-ish. Drop it another octave. And then one of the, let's just go all the way here. I'm going to send a mod envelope to the pitch of oscillator 1, and that's fun. Then we're going to do this. So now it's got a little clicky attack. And that's one thing you can do with keyboard octave semi, and just, we just made basically an 808 out of a sine wave and pitch editing there. So just one for the kids there. Cake or death. The last one, tune. So you're tuning in cents, 50 cents plus or minus. And that's going to matter when you've got multiple oscillators going at one time, because you can detune them and detune them for effects, detune them for chorus, detune them for whatever. All right, cool. All right, so next up, you got all your different wave shapes. So sawtooth, square, there you are, square. Then triangle, sine wave. So I think most people who are into synthesis understand these. So sawtooth kind of looks like teeth of a saw. Square, boom, looks like square. And let's talk about this little pulse width knob here. See what it's doing there. So this just applies like that's a little routing indicator right there that this only applies to the square wave. So you can play with this till your heart's content when you got another one on, but it ain't gonna do nothing. So you gotta stick with square wave to use this pulse width, and it's just, as you can see what it's doing. It's changing. It got weird there. Check that out. So that's what it does. It's what it's doing to the actual thing itself. It's messing with the harmonics, other stuff's going on, but in terms of just the wave, there you go. Triangle, looks like a triangle, doesn't it? And then our old friend, the sine. So let's look at AM from Oscillator 2. And we just talked about this very briefly in the last in the routing episode. So I'm gonna stick with analog because this is an easy way to understand it. So right now I don't have any amplitude. So AM is amplitude modulation, and I don't have anything coming from Oscillator 2. So right now I'm gonna drop the octave super low. So, and we're gonna change this. Actually, yeah, let's stick with a sine wave. Stick with a sine wave. So it's a sine wave. It's super low, right? All right. So now let's turn. So here's what my square wave sounds like without doing anything. All right. Now let's turn them both on, and you can sort of start to hear it. Now watch. Check that out. Isn't that cool? You can literally see the wave affecting the other wave. I freaking love that. Because it's science. So the amplitude of this sine wave down here, which is the power of the wave, is affecting the square wave. So playing with square wave, boom, and then both of them together. You don't actually have to have it turned on right there, but I think that just looks neat. So, and then if I want to So that's what, if you're using a low octave, that's what it's going to do. Then if you bump the octave up, it gets into noise really quickly. So that's a way. So you can get, it gets into a whole nother realm of things, but that's what it is. It's amplitude is messing with the other wave. So, and then the last one is this sync button here. All right, sync is a little bit hard to understand, or it was for me at first, and you almost need a visual explanation of what it does. But let's see if we can make this make sense. So the oscillators themselves, they have their own cycle, and that the cycle between these oscillators is not necessarily going to be synced up. So one of them is up here at the top, then another one could be starting, or could be down, could be in the middle of its cycle. So one could be here, one could be here, one could be here, and you get a different sound when you do that. And we'll do it with sine waves here. Than if they aren't synced. So let's see. Let's turn them all on. Now let's see if sync changes the sound. And not only does it change the sound, it changes the wave shape, because they're all starting at the same place, and they're looping together. So what sync forces it to do is, let's see, so this one, very different wave, and it's a faster up and down, and it will automatically restart. Sync will force a restart so that everything begins in the same place. Like so the lowest wave, let's see, 3 is actually the lowest one. So when you turn off the sync, so there's 3 and obviously very low. And so it has the biggest wave, the longest wave, and what is happening is part of it is going here and then it's getting cut off and start over. And so you don't have, so that one's it's a shorter frequency. So that's the two of them combining. Now when we sync them, which it's chopping the wave off and syncing it together. And now it's chopping all 3 of them off and syncing them together. So if you have, I guess the thing to be aware of with sync is if you have a particular sound that you're going for and you start playing with this and it changes it dramatically, that's what's happening. It's taking the wave, your existing wave, and it's just chopping off part of it and starting it over so that it starts at the same time as your other waves that are right here, as your other wave shapes that are right here. Here's a picture of how it's explained in the Reason manual. So you can see like these 2 waves are 2 different periods, and boom, it chopped it off, started it over. Boom, it chopped it off, started it over. Hopefully those 2 things, now it makes sense to you what that sync button actually does. And that's the Analog Oscillator. Not a whole lot to it, except there's a whole lot to it. So in the next one, we're going to talk about the wavetable oscillator. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheers.